Hi everybody, I have a question for you, and that question is, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? Are you feeling happy? Or are you feeling sad? And you can see here that I have created this smiley face, and it changes from one state to another. And what we're going to be doing in this video is creating things that are called dynamic blocks. And we know what blocks are already, but these are dynamic versions of regular blocks, and dynamic means that it's going to do something, that it's going to change or it's going to move. And what we're using right now in this happy face block is what's called a visibility parameter, and that allows this pull down to be created here. And I have two conditions. One is named happy, one is named sad. And each condition is showing a different set of lines. So it's not actually changing, for example, from a circle to a line. What it's doing is it's showing either one of these drawings. So it's not actually that lines are morphing or changing. It's simply showing or hiding one or the other. So when I'm on the happy mode, it shows this information and it hides this information, and vice versa. And so it's more of a magic trick or a sleight of hand where we're doing show hide in order to make it look like it's happy or make it look like it's sad. There are some other more advanced things that we'll do where we actually stretch some items, but in this case we're just doing like a show hide trick. So taking a look here at your book, we're on number 14, and there are a bunch of dynamic blocks that you're going to create. So there's one that is a dining room table, there's one that's a bed, there's one that's parking, we're going to make a sofa, we're going to make a wooden end section like for a framing detail, and we're going to also make a more fancy version of our doors. This first one here, dining room table, that's going to use the visibility parameter. And so that's essentially going to show or hide three different sizes of tables. We're going to have a small table, a larger table, and then a table that is even larger that seats 8 people. These are the dimensions of the table over here. And we're also going to include some chairs. So essentially we're going to draw 3 different tables, and then we're going to create 3 ways to hide and show different sizes of tables. Once we get down to bed, then we're going to do another kind of parameter that's called alignment. And then on top of that, we're going to do visibility. And then looking down here at parking, we're going to use a parameter called a rotate with a 15-degree increment. And then we're going to do visibility on top of that. Sofa is fairly simple, that's just visibility. The wood end section, that's the more complicated one where we're going to create a linear stretch. And the doors one is going to use a alignment parameter, a flip parameter, and a visibility parameter. Actually more than 3, we're going to have several of those different kinds, and they're all going to work kind of on top of each other in a coordinated way. So here's my dining room table. And I've created it as a block, and I've given it that visibility parameter, and I've created 3 states here. And when I go to this pull down, I can choose the different sizes of table. So the way that you begin that is you actually draw out all 3 different table sizes. And so the dimension of the actual table surface is indicated here. You can see there's a small one that's 36 by 36. There's a 6-person table that measures 42 inches by 72 inches, and then the 8-person table is 42 by 96. And then the chairs, we're going to just create a simplified version of a chair with a 9-inch radius semicircle. And so you can see I've drawn that out here, right? For example, this tabletop measures 3 feet by 3 feet, and the circles are semicircles are a 9-inch radius, and I have them sort of spaced out. So this one has 4 seats, this one has 6, and this one has 8. And what you need to do is draw them like that spaced out so they're separate from each other on your screen. So to start this process, I'm going to make a regular block. So I go B for block and enter. And I've already created a dining table block in this file. So you would use the name dining table. I'm just going to use the name XX for my second block. And my pick point is going to be here on the midpoint of the lower edge of the small table. Select objects, and I'm going to select everything. Press enter, and then I'm going to press OK. Okay, so now when I select this, you can see everything lights up, and I've made a block in a traditional way, and that's a review because we've already covered that. So now I'm going to select the block and type BE and enter. That's going to take me into the block editor. I'll click OK here. And so I'm in the block editor. That's that environment where we can see only the contents of the block and the background is gray. We can't see anything else in our drawing because this is not part of our typical drawing space. And so we're going to spend some time with this set of tools here. This is called the block authoring palette. And you can see it has several tabs here on the side. We're going to spend most of our time in this parameters. And you can see there's linear, rotation, alignment, flip, and visibility. Those are the ones we're going to be using mostly. I'm going to click on visibility. So click on it, hold your mouse down, and then move your mouse out to here. And when you release your mouse, it's going to turn into a crosshairs. So you can click, and that click is going to locate where that blue triangle is. That's going to be the little icon that someone could use to change the different sizes. So it's going to come up and say visibility 1, and it's going to have this yellow exclamation point on there, and that's letting us know that it's not configured properly yet. Okay, so the next thing is to come up here and take a look. In this part of the ribbon, there should be a section called visibility. And so visibility states, when I click on that, it's going to bring up this dialog box. This one here has a solid green square and a dotted line green square. This one here has a solid green square, and this one is called Make Visible. This one here has a dotted green square, and it's called Make Invisible. Okay, so the first thing is to click on the visibility states, and you can see there's visibility state 0. So I'm going to click on rename, and that one's going to become the small table. So the 3 visibility states we create are going to be called small, 6-person, and 8-person. I'm going to click here on new, and I'm going to make another visibility state. This one's going to be called 6-person. That'll be for the medium-sized table. And I'm going to leave this bottom box checked down here. I'm going to click new again and make an 8-person table. Click OK, and then click OK. And now looking up here, you can see in this pull down, we have our choices of the 3 different states. So I'm going to go back to the beginning at small. So I'll select small. And when I'm in the small mode, I want to see only the small table. So what I'm going to do is select all of these lines and then click here on the Make Invisible button. And you'll see that those lines gray out. And if for you those lines disappeared completely, that's because of the setting of this button here. So if I click this button, the invisible things disappear completely. If I click this button again, the invisible things will show up in a grayed out, transparent version of the line. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the 6-person setting. So when I'm in the 6-person visibility state, I want this table to be invisible. And I also want this table to be invisible. Make sure you do not select the actual visibility icon itself. Just make sure you select only the lines. And then I'm going to switch to the 8-person table. And in that mode, I only want to see these lines here, which means I'm going to select all of these lines and then click Make Invisible. And now I'm going to test this out and make sure it's working properly. So I'm going to click on the green check mark, close the block editor, save the changes, and then select the block. And you can see when I change to another state, the correct things are hiding and showing. So I'm going to go back into the block editor and finish this off. So what I'm going to do is make sure that this button here is clicked so that I can see the grayed out version of the lines. And then I'm going to move this table into position, and the midpoint snaps of both bottom edges of the tables are going to line up with each other. Okay, so let's do that again for this table. I'm going to type M for move and enter. Big window around all that and enter. And then my base point will be here at the midpoint and going to the midpoint of the small table. So the overall strategy is to draw all the parts separately, do the showing and hiding with the visibility parameter, check it, make sure it's working properly, and then the last step is to put everything on top of each other. Okay, so now I'm going to click here on the green check mark, click Save the Changes, and then I am going to test this out and make sure it's working. So I think it's working pretty good right there. Okay, and make sure you save this file as 14 dining table.